Hello? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Welcome.
Hey, hey, aloha.
Aloha. It's not quite Hawaiian weather here.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good
Good afternoon. That's right. I think
First of all, we would like to thank Vinata for her vision, for envisioning this greeting and this gathering and doing everything to make it happen with her creativity, her announcements, her good energy. Vinata, we want to say thank you. We love and appreciate you. And Suna, we'd like to thank you for the generosity of allowing us to have this at the Freedom Center. Thank you very, and for hosting it and managing the technical aspects. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And we want to make sure Vinata heard us also say thank you so much for everything you did to envision this and make it happen.
Thank
Thank
you
you for your magic.
Thank you for trusting my vision and making it happen. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this event with all of my heart.
We are too.
So I just introduce. Do you want to introduce yourself really quick? Or?
I'm Amrit. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, and I'm Britt.
Yeah. And I'm Tina. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Tina.
I'm married.
Mary,
You married?
nice to meet you.
Hello, my name is Mats.
Hello,
Mats, yes, and nice to meet you too. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'm also Mats, the older.
All right,
Nice
Matt.
to meet you.
You also.
It's very wonderful for us to connect to all of your energies and all of your spirit. So we're extremely happy to be here with all of you today.
Oh, thank you. We are too, quite a bit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I don't know, Vanetta has explained who you are in Swedish. It was a little bit easier. Do you want to say anything else? Or?
No, yeah, that what Suna just said. I did this short bio of you in Swedish.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we know a little who you are, but I think it would be great for us to hear your story. How did you connect with Laarkmaa? You know, to hear from you. Can you?
We'd be happy to share that.
Yes.
It all started because Cullen had a birthday.
Well, actually,
It started a
it
little
started
before
before that. When Pia and I met some long time ago,
that. Ancient years ago.
long time ago, we began to feel and see unusual things around us. We would notice that there were lights going on and off in our house. We would notice that if we put our shoes in a certain direction upon going to bed, the next morning they would be in the opposite direction. And we kept having all of these experiences, and we didn't know what it meant. We looked at each other and said, what is this? We don't know what somebody is trying to tell us. So if we fast forward a few months, then Pia can start with my birthday.
We were having a birthday dinner to celebrate Cullen's birthday, and at exactly the hour and minute of his birth, a shortwave radio in our house spontaneously turned itself on. And we were living really high in the mountains and didn't have outside communication except this shortwave radio. So it startled us a little bit. We stopped, got up, noticed the clock said exactly Cullen's birth time and thought, that's odd. Walked into the other room, the adjoining room, turned the radio off and went back to the meal.
And this experience happened night after night after night, exactly at my birth time. For about 2 weeks, the radio turned itself on And we still had no idea what to understand about this.
It even turned itself on when we unplugged it from the wall. So at that point, we knew somebody wanted to get our attention, and we just looked at each other and just said, okay, who are you? What do you want? Welcome. And then it started.
We began to, and this will sound funny because Pia is a retired psychologist. So what I'm going to say is possibly going to make you laugh. We began to hear words in our minds, voices. And we thought, what is this? And one of us would hear something and look at the other one and say, I just heard this statement or these words. And the other of us would say, I heard exactly the same thing. And this went on for another week or two.
We started trying to take notes of the things that they were telling us. When they first introduced them, we said, who are you? And they said, we are one of six and six of one. And we looked at each other and said, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And they explained it was each had an individual consciousness, but they operated as a group. And they were communicating with us, asking us to join them as a team members to be able to share higher perspectives with humanity.
So we began realizing that we couldn't take notes fast enough. It was impossible. Even shorthand wasn't fast enough. So one of us had the brilliant idea of recording what we were saying. And it made a complete difference because we didn't have to concentrate on trying to remember what we were saying because it was recorded so we could listen to it later. And that is how we began our communication with them. And for the next 6 months, maybe longer, we sat exactly at my birth time, waited for them to come, and they would begin speaking through us.
Except for one weekend when I had a medical conference to attend, and Cullen went with me. And we were very, very sad that we wouldn't be home to have this conversation that was developing. It was so wonderful. And we checked into our hotel room and noticed that it was just about time for our conversation and did a big sigh. We were so sorry we were going to miss it. And the television turned itself on. And then they started communicating, saying, we don't need the signal. We can be there with you at any time.
Anywhere.
And that began our receiving what we call nudges, where they nudge us, where they want to talk to us, or we can call them and say, we would like for you to come and talk with us.
So we had a lengthy conversation with them every day for about 6 months, maybe longer. And then we started speaking to them several times a day. And they asked us about a year after our initial meeting with them, they said, how would you feel about writing books that we bring you the knowledge and the wisdom for, and you write the books for us because we cannot write books. We're not here in human form. Would you do that? And we looked at each other and went, well, I guess we can do that. We both were working as professionals in our careers, and we thought, how are we going to balance this by still working and writing books and
holding public gatherings,
and about that,
traveling.
At about that point, we began speaking in public. And so they asked us two things. Will you speak in public? And will you help us write books?
So I retired from my psychology practice. I went in and told all my colleagues what was going on. And strangely enough, a group of psychologists and psychiatrists didn't have one single thing to say about your hearing voices. Let me look into that. They didn't at all. They respected me because we'd worked together for a long time and it was well accepted. We even took time to go visit friends who were on my PhD committee years and years ago who had become deep friends. And we went to talk to them about what was happening in Berkeley, California. And we introduced them to Laarkmaa. And they said, You have to write books. In fact, we want to endorse what you write. This is absolutely experiential necessity. So I retired from being a psychologist, and
I was an anthropologist and an archaeologist, and it was easier for me to stop working than it was for Pia, because Pia had a very large
client base.
client base of patients that she worked with, that she had to say, I'm changing my life, I'm moving on. And for me, all I had to do, because I was a consultant, I could choose what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I just slowly stopped working, and we began this
And our
adventure,
full-time career.
this adventure as a full-time career for both of us. So this is a very short version of what happened to us.
There's lots of other things we could add, but we don't want to take up all the time. We know you want to talk to the Pleiadians. But before we connect you with Laarkmaa, we should tell you one more thing, and that is when we first began speaking in public, Cullen spoke half the time, I spoke half the time, sometimes we spoke simultaneously, which really confused people. They were like watching a tennis match. They couldn't tell who to watch because the words were coming out of both of us simultaneously. This became too confusing, and so Laarkmaa said, we're going to make a choice here. We're going to choose Pia's voice and use it consistently, but it still requires both of you to be present and touching. We will not come through unless you are both present and touching, because we need the libraries of both of your minds to be able to translate our language into human language.
They don't have a spoken human-like language where they come from. They communicate directly heart to heart with musical tones and mathematical tones. So in order for us to be able to speak, they have to use what Pia just said, the libraries of our minds, to choose the words so that we can speak them in English. And it's really quite funny sometimes, because they may choose the wrong word or the wrong phrase, and they will have to say, excuse us, we know what we want to say, but trying to say it in English isn't that easy for us. So sometimes it's very entertaining and very funny.
Maybe like our trying to speak Swedish.
The only other thing that I can think of to tell all of you is we do have to be touching. We either hold hands or we touch where you can't see below the camera, but we have to be touching, because one of the reasons they chose us is because we are absolutely opposite in our personalities. I see everything from the outside in, and Pia sees everything from the inside out. So they told us at the very, very beginning, they chose us because we would cancel out any of our own personal ego or any of our own personal opinions about what they're saying. So what we speak for them comes out purely as they are communicating it to us. And we find that very interesting, because we represent both genders and we're so different that what comes through has to be exactly what they want to come through, without any changing of words or feelings or anything that would change the meaning of what they're bringing to humanity.
So do you have any questions for us before we connect you to Laarkmaa and Laarkmaa speaks to you? We're happy to answer anything if you have questions.
No, I don't think there was any questions.
Okay.
I just have one question. Will Laarkmaa first give us like a message, and then after that we ask questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we will take a few minutes and shift energies, and Laarkmaa will come through, and they will speak to you, and they'll give you whatever the message they feel the group needs. And then after they speak, they will say, we are ready for your questions. And they will answer anything that you want to ask. Personal questions that have to do with only you and not in general, Sometimes they won't answer those, but it depends on what the question is, because they have to synchronize with your energy individually. And sometimes when they answer those questions, they answer more than the person ever expected them to say. And it can be more than you want to share in a group.
It can be awkward sometimes
Yeah.
because they are very loving. They are very supportive, but they are also very direct. And they might start speaking about something that an individual may not want to go that deeply in public. So it's best for your questions to be cosmic questions.
Something of a general nature that everybody might be experiencing or curious about.
And they do personal sessions with people. They speak to people all over the world on a daily basis. So it is possible to speak with them if you would choose at a later date to have a personal experience with them. So if that's it, I think we will be quiet, and you may notice that our energy changes a little bit when they come to be with us. And after they say goodbye to you, we will come back and then speak to you as Pia and Cullen.
Thank you.
Hello, dear ones. We are Laarkmaa. We are delighted to be with you on this beautiful day. We're delighted to share in conversation. One thing we wish you to know from the very first is that we are not really interested in one-way communication. Many humans on Earth have been what has been called trance channels, who are open channels for information to come through, where people simply sit and listen. This is not the arrangement we have chosen with Pia and Cullen, for we are not interested in sharing only our perspective. We are interested in learning your perspective as well. As we learn about each other, it helps us to grow and you to grow. So we are interested in two-way communication. Our perspective is from a much broader position than what you can see in the third dimensional reality. And yet, here in your third dimensional reality, you have experiences that you can share with us that we can learn from also. As we learn from you, we know better how we can help you on your evolutionary journey. We are here as a group, as many others are here around the planet, at this auspicious time because the planet is changing and because human consciousness has an opportunity to make an evolutionary leap. You have a particular energy, gift, possibility here on this planet that does not exist everywhere in the universe, and that is the power of choice. You can choose how you feel, you can choose what you think, you can choose your actions, you can choose many, many things, and each choice can come from a lower vibrational selfish place of fear or neediness, or it can come from a higher vibrational place of generosity, gratefulness, and love. When you're on the evolutionary path, as we sense all in this room are today, you want to make the highest and best choices that you can. However, your traditions and your training here in the third dimension have not prepared you for the broader perspective that is available, and you may not always know how to make the best or highest vibrational choice in any situation. We are here to help you step outside of your training, your tradition, what you have been taught. Cullen says humanity has experienced bad training. We like that phrase and we agree with it because you have been taught to put your mind and your intellect ahead of everything else, and we feel that the heart must always be put first. You must let your heart lead your thoughts. When you let the mind take the lead, you enter in more easily into states of fear, overwhelm, or confusion. When you let the heart lead the mind, there is more intuition present and more ability to make higher vibrational choices, moment by moment, day by day, second by second. So we're interested in helping you find the way to make the most of your experience here on earth. You're here, as we mentioned before, at a very auspicious time, a time of being able to move from the old paradigm that is what you are familiar with into a new paradigm that may seem strange at first, but offers much more freedom, much more abundance, and much more unconditional love. The paradigm that you are existing in now has misunderstood and misused the concept of duality. Here, in the old paradigm, duality is perceived as opposites that are always chosen as one is good, the opposite is bad. One is you, the other is me. Opposites are used here in duality incorrectly, causing conflict, competition, and increasing fear and differences. Duality in its true use is intended to give you a broader perspective so that opposite perspectives may strengthen your wisdom, help you to grow, help you to see how differences create a more beautiful whole when they are woven together harmonically. This is something that you need to break your old training to be able to move forward. Would like to pause and ask the group if you are able to listen to our words at this pace easily enough, because we know you are not native English speakers. Is our pace agreeable for you?
Yes.
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 Thank you. We want to be sure we are communicating with each other. In this paradigm that you are stepping away from, there are many things you must learn to look at differently. One of the things that we have written about in our first book is explaining the existence of the many other realms, the angelic kingdom, the David kingdom, the power of color, the power of water, because you are mostly water, comprised of water. We especially have a favorite chapter, one of the favorites we have ever written, called The Magic of Water, that talks about how you communicate through water rather than communicating through the air as you think telepathically or as you speak through sound. It is actually the water of your being that carries across your messages to one another much more quickly than even when you speak them. That's a very important concept for you to understand, because when you understand the power of your water, you understand that if you pollute your water, you're polluting everyone else's water as well, because you are connected. This is like having a big bowl of water and you have one drop of something foul go in the water and the entire bowl is ruined. You are connected as a species, so therefore you must keep your water clear and at its highest vibrational level. One of the principles that we always use on the evolutionary path is the concept of the Mayan word in Lakesh. That means, I am another yourself. And we're speaking to you about this now in terms of water, because when you do something that hurts someone else, you are also hurting yourself. When you do something to someone else out of kindness and generosity, you are also helping yourself to grow and evolve. The same thing in the other direction. If you hurt yourself, you're hurting other people as well, because they are connected. So you have to make high vibrational choices about what you think, how you feel, what you eat, what you watch, what you listen to. All of these things you have to think it is not just your individual choice as you have been trained, but what you choose, affects all others as well. And this is something we want to share with the world. The other principle that we would like to speak about is ahimsa, and that is the principle of do no harm. It is a Sanskrit word, and it means that everything you do in life, you do from the position of intending that you will harm no one or no thing. Nothing will be harmed. We write about this in our second book, when we write about healing the human condition. One of the most important things you need to learn in order to heal the human condition is how to step away from ways that you have been trained to think and react rather than intuit and respond. You have been trained to follow certain traditions and certain ways of thinking that limit you and keep you restricted. You have a tradition in Sweden of taking a herd of reindeer every year and harvesting them for food. That is a tradition that served the Sami people well a long, long time ago along the path of evolution. But at this point in evolution, for humanity to make a conscious leap, you must set aside such traditions as that. You must apply the principle of ahimsa and recognize that if you are choosing something to eat, taking the life of an animal is not the highest good for all. And there are many ways you can nurture yourself without taking another life. The same thing applies to everything. If you wish to heal yourself from fear, pain, suffering, sickness, any type of imbalance, anything that has made it painful to be in these human bodies, you must begin to make choices from the highest vibrational place, from the place of ahimsa, do no harm, and doing it also through understanding the true principles of unity, the true principles of foundation, the true principles of color, the true principles of learning, and the true principles of evolution through choice. These are all the things that we wrote about in our second book, Remembering Who We Are, Laarkmaa's Guide to Human Healing. The second book is about that, healing the human condition. In our third book, we expanded even more to talk about the cosmic weather that you are experiencing now and how that is impacting your physical, mental, and emotional forms. If you are not familiar with the cosmic weather, we will explain to you what we mean. You are quite familiar with your environmental weather, whether it is cold or hot, sunshine or rain, wind or calm. These are environmental conditions here on your planet. However, slightly beyond the environment, you have a magnetosphere that has protection in it according to the position of where the sun is, that protects you from outside cosmic rays and from solar flares coming into your environment to imbalance the human environment and the environment of all life. Right now, you are in a solar minimum, meaning the sun is not sending out many solar flares at all. In fact, none in the last year. And the solar minimum means you do not get as much heat from the sun either. However, when you're in a solar minimum, you also experience a weakening of your magnetosphere, and that causes more cosmic rays from space, deep space, to penetrate your earthly environment, causing an increase of heat, causing forest fires, causing radiation symptoms within the human body and with other life forms. All of these things are bringing more light into your system, as well as more radiation, which must be balanced. Along with the cosmic weather that is natural to your evolution, you are experiencing the heinous effects of 5G, which causes an even greater weakening of your magnetosphere, allowing more cosmic rays in for more radiation than is healthy for life on this planet. This we write about in our book also, with suggestions of what to do and how to move around it. We also talk about unity consciousness and a favorite topic that is very difficult for humanity, what family is truly intended for, and why family causes you so much difficulty when you love them and you still have difficulty. We talk all about the family as a training ground and how when you approach family correctly, exactly as you need to learn to approach duality correctly, everything can change for you. So these are some of the things that we have written about that you may take home with you to understand more about your evolutionary path. The last thing we would like to speak to you about is our introduction of a new way of managing or navigating your lives through energy rather than time. You have been trained through an artificial system that arbitrarily says each day changes at the stroke of midnight every night. That is not in harmony with nature. It also is out of harmony with the Earth's rotation around the sun. Your days on this artificial calendar are 365 days in a year, but the calendar is so imbalanced in its artificial nature and unnatural nature that you have to adjust every 4 years. So the entire time, except that one point of adjustment, you are feeling off balance and out of harmony from your very planet. This is an atrocity from our opinion. To be out of balance with the planet that supports your life is a real hardship for your evolution, your understanding, your growth, and your abundance and freedom. We instituted, with Pia and Colin's assistance, the introduction of a system that the Pleiadians gave to the Maya over 5,000 years ago. The Mayans used it consciously for 100 or 200 years, and then it dropped away and became a mental thing, only symbols, and was no longer looked at as the energy that it represented. So we have come again to remind you that you have the opportunity to navigate your lives by energy rather than time. To make this easier for you, we created a system of words that you can follow what each of the energies represents. Each of the 20 energies that are present on the earth are represented within this system, so you can relate to them and understand them better. There are 13 universal energies that are present throughout the cosmos. Each of these 13 universal energies is also listed. We have put all of these energies together in alignment with the artificial Gregorian calendar so that you can learn to sense and feel the energies every single day. The biggest difference in this system, well, there are two big differences. The first and largest difference is that the energies change at sunset every day. And so you move from one universal energy and one earth energy at sunset to the next universal energy and earth energy at sunset every single day, rather than the artificial breaking up of your days at midnight. The second largest thing about this system, it is based on units of 13 phases of Venus, which is the planet that teaches you the truth about duality and how to govern your relationships, and 13 universal energies, which tell you how to build upon one thing and then the next and then the next until you reach the point of understanding at number 12. And then at number 13, you pause, you rest, and you integrate everything that you have learned so you are prepared to start again at the next level the following day. These things are available on the calendar that we created. And this year's calendar for 2021 is an 18-month calendar, giving you a great opportunity to expand your understanding of navigating your life by scheduling appointments with this particular energetic system, rather than picking to do one thing on Monday or another on Friday. Look at the energy of the day. Is it a day for traveling? Is it a day for staying home and being quiet and listening? Is it a day for connecting? Look at the two systems of energies and what they offer and plan your life accordingly. Not only does the calendar explain the energies of the days that you experience, but this system also reflects the energy that each of you are. Each of you came here with a universal energy, bringing it in from the cosmos to Earth to help you understand this earthly experience. Each of you also chose one of the 20 Earth energies to explore and investigate, doing the work of bringing all the lower vibration of that particular energy into the higher vibration of that particular energy. So you have this as a system to define and explain who you are as well, each of you individually. This is all written about in our book, Pleiadian Earth Energy Astrology, explaining the importance of stepping away from the paradigm that imposes artificial time, which keeps you limited and restricted, and into Pleiadian Earth Energy understanding of navigating your life through energy rather than time. These are the things that we wish to speak to you about today. And we're most interested in exploring your questions from this point on. They may be as simple or complex as you like, as short or as long as you like, but we are here to serve you, and we are here to learn from you. In the spirit of Enlakesh, you are we, and we are you. We are different aspects of each other. You are having an experience here in the third dimension of life. We are having a multidimensional experience and sharing our perspective, because if you choose, you have the opportunity to move into a multidimensional perspective also. It is your choice. It always has been, it always will be, and the choice point is determined by the consensus of the choices that you make. We are so delighted to be able to serve you in this way, to share our perspective, to share and listen and communicate together in conversation. We are ready for whatever questions you would like to ask.
Does anybody have a question now? Okay, yeah. I have several questions.
Please begin.
Yeah, it connects into what you were saying about the traditions and letting go of traditions. I actually had a dream over 10 years ago where I was entering heaven again, and the security guards stopped me because I was carrying two little teddy bears in the hand. And they said, "You can't bring those in." And I so indignantly said, "Why not? I did that last time." And they responded, "Exactly." So what I got from that is there are a lot of things that we are unaware of that we think are part of our divine journey, part of what's right. And I wanted to ask from your perspective, some things that we may not be seeing that we think are okay, are good or accurate, or that help us with that, help us to see. Is that possible?
That is a wonderful question. The teddy bears represent, we think, attachment, as you have just said, to things you believe to be representing goodness or love or positive aspects. You are attached to certain ways of being and believing that you are right. And it is such a wonderful, expansive question to say, what are we blind to? What are we holding on to? The first thing that we would address that is part of this is a sense of justice. The human condition has been trained to hold on to a sense of justice. This is unjust, and I know that I'm right, and I'm going to stand up for it and fight for it, without necessarily considering if maybe what you are fighting for, you may actually be fighting against. Because you have been divided as a species for thousands and thousands of years, you have a great idea of what is familiar to me is right, and what is not familiar to me is wrong. Of course, that does not mean everyone in every circumstance, but it does bear witness and looking at to see where is it that I may be holding on to a belief that I am right that could be perceived from another position, another situation. When you expand your viewpoints and drop your I'm right about this and that's unjust and I'm not going to look at it that way, you soften your reactions into a state of response, which then allows you to truly see what is unjust from your heart rather than from your mind. Injustice comes from anything that causes harm, anything that causes separation, anything that causes judgment. All of these things are unjust for your species. And you are living in a time where you have been trained to believe this is the right thing to do and that is the wrong thing to do. We will take your religion as an example, not your specific religion, dear one, but the religion concept on your planet. Religion is intended by those who organize the religion to bring you to their way of controlling you by claiming they are teaching you higher spiritual values. Obviously, each religion does have some high spiritual tenets and truths that are present. But the very fact that each religion on this planet claims, I am right and you are wrong, is unjust. It is separating, and it is instilling more fear of those who are different, or those who wish to look at the divine in a different way. So religion has done a tremendous disservice, and the human species has been very eager to say, I'm serving God. Look at all the crusades. I'm doing what the divine asks of me. Look at all the people who have been killed in the name of that. Instead of saying, the best way I can serve the divine is to recognize that I am divine and you are divine also. We are both part of the divinity. And when we do that and see each other as different but the same, just having various perspectives, we are ending injustice. We are inviting in unity and ending separation. That is one of the great things that the species has been holding on to generally. If you take everything that you believe to be good, right, just, and examine it from your heart and ask, why do I compare this to something else? And in my comparison, am I judging that something opposite is different, is bad, is not as good as what I am holding on to? In doing that, you learn to detach from the things that you have held in your mind as being the highest values. And instead, you move repeatedly over and over again into your heart, accepting the highest values that your heart leads you to have. This will cause, living in this way, it will cause men on the battlefield to put down their guns and to grasp their brothers in their arms. It will cause bickering husbands and wives to stop their yelling and to gaze into each other's eyes and say, this is not what drew us together. How can we have a disagreement in a way that shows and honors each other's perspectives? It will stop one nation trying to take over another one, and it certainly would be beneficial in this time right now when nations are saying, you can't cross my borders because you might be contagious, which is a whole nother topic. We can talk about that too if you like. But in answer to your question, anything that you hold on to and feel this is the truth because I've been trained that this is the truth, I've been taught that this is true, or I've believed this all of my life, these are the teddy bears. These are the attachments that you're holding on to because you believe that they represent the highest good. And yet those beliefs are coming from your head and not your heart. Does that answer your question, dear one?
Yes, and I have another question upon that. There are also strong emotional attachments, which are like I see it like an addictive, like almost a drug addictive behavior, because our emotions do create this chemistry within us. So maybe intellectually realizing that I can't call things wrong, but there's an emotional attachment to that behavior. Do you have any guidance how to get out of that drug addictive emotional attachment?
Oh, yes, we do. We have been speaking about this and writing about this the entire time we've been talking to humanity. First of all, we'd like to clarify something for you. We do not consider love, joy, trust, compassion, kindness, and patience. We do not consider those to be emotions. Those are the higher feeling states that are natural to you, that you came into this experience as part of who you are. They are your birthright, they are your makeup, they are part of your divinity, and they were what you brought with you to this experience. The emotions are the feelings that make you uncomfortable. Judgment, fear, anger, grief, sadness, jealousy, frustration. These are the emotions that make you unhappy and uncomfortable. There's a purpose in these emotions, but most humans don't know that. They think, feel, or believe that when they have an emotion, they are triggered by somebody else, and somebody made them feel this way. You did or didn't do, you said or didn't say, something that made me feel like this. Well, here's the truth. Nobody else can make you feel anything. The emotions are there to guide and navigate you to show how you are out of balance. If you're having an emotional reaction, you're thinking wrong or something's out of balance within you. You're either judging another person, you're not accepting them where they are, you're judging the situation, or you're judging yourself. Emotions are a form of judgment, and they are there to show you, don't judge. Remember, unconditional love allows all things to exist through objectivity and acceptance. So we have written about this in all three of our books, talking about how to step aside from reacting. There's a whole chapter in our newest book, the Pleiadian Evolution book, Pleiadian Manual for Evolution and Ascension. That book has an entire chapter about how to move beyond the emotions by using objectivity, and another chapter about those that trigger your emotions the most, your family, and how to learn to look at those differently. But the key to it is to take a deep breath in, settle yourself, and then ask, what am I thinking? You will find the judgment or the belief in your thinking. And then you ask yourself, what else do I need to be thinking? What else is possible? And in that place, you cross into objectivity, and then you can respond rather than react. We would suggest anyone who is interested in changing this aspect of their life to get all three books and read them slowly and integrate them into who you are, so that you may evolve beyond the emotional reactions that are so prevalent in human experience and move instead into heart-based responses. Does that answer?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else have another question?
I have a question about fear. I see today I see that a lot of things is based on fear to make humans, people scared, afraid. And if you don't feel the fear, then you see people are afraid of what the government want them to be afraid of. And I know I have been afraid and felt fear for wrong things I see today. Is it gonna, how do I say, is it, is fear possible, is fear possible, möjligt? Possible, is fear possible to remove
Yes.
from other people, to get people to understand that it's nothing to be afraid of?
That is a wonderful question. Fear is the greatest controller. Those who wish to control humanity use fear to control you by threatening to take away things that are valuable to you. They threaten to take away your freedom. They threaten to take away your health. They threaten to take away your money. They threaten whatever they can to control you, to make you do whatever they want you to do. The way to move aside of fear is to understand that you are divine and you have the divine right to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to have a vaccination. Find me all you want. It's not going to change my life. I'm not going to do what you're asking me to do. You ask about changing the fear in others and helping them to see that there is nothing to fear. You can live by example. As you stand up with your own fearlessness and say, look, there's nothing to be afraid of. They're not hurting me. They cannot hurt me. I'm just standing up and saying what is true. Others begin to understand that they can stand up also. They are frightened because, well, humanity in large has become quite complacent. You have, as a species, believed for too long what your teachers, your governments, your religious leaders have told you. Oh, they must want my highest good, so I will do what they say. Oh, they must mean this is good for me, so I'll do it. And as this has happened, more and more corruption has crept into each of these institutes, and they've begun to control you more and more and more. You're at the pivotal point now of needing to stand up together and say, no, we're not going to put up with these things because this is true and that is not true. You cannot control us through your fear. The biggest fear that humanity is facing right now is not even real. The biggest fear is the COVID-19 virus. COVID virus has been in humanity for a long, long time. It used to be acknowledged on bottles of cleaning material in America. This material prevents COVID virus. It's been around for a long time. Yes, there is a different strain of a virus, and yes, that is real, but it is no more dangerous than any other flu that you may get. It is not the monster it has been made out to be, and yet it has been used as an instrument of fear, an instrument to make people separate. What else is lockdown and social distancing but separation? Wear masks. What else is that but keeping you from smiling at one another? And lack of touch. What else is that but denying one of the most nurturing things that humans need for survival? This is a fear control factor. As the masses of humanity melt under this fear and say, okay, we'll be good, we'll do what you want, they implement, and by they, we mean those who are controlling humanity, they implement more and more things to make you even more and more controlled, and they stir up even more things to make you frightened. Every time they try to make you frightened, they are taking something away from you, away from your power. The two best ways to fight this are to recognize that you are divine, stand up and say no when it's appropriate. No, I will not put up with this. And the second way is that by demonstrating this, you help others to understand they do not need to be afraid either. If you share information about the facts that are very clearly available all across your alternate news on internet and YouTube, you will find many, many things available to say, look, here's contradictory information to what we're being told. Listen to your hearts. Use your consciousness. Determine what is true and what is not, and refuse to be afraid of things that are invalid and ridiculous. And that way you take back your power. The more you take back your power, the more there can be no fear. Fear was instituted on this planet as a way of controlling this species during the experiment of human evolution a long, long time ago. One of the things you may not know about fear, and we need to tell you, is that the sugarcane plant that is supposed to be natural is not a natural plant to your planet. That plant was transported here and began to grow here and began to be processed into sugar as an intentional way to harm the human experiment. Sugar from sugarcane and also high fructose corn syrup. These poisonous toxic substances do two things, three things actually. They are addictive, first of all. So once you start eating it, you become addicted to it. Sugar is more addictive than heroin or cocaine. The second thing that it does is it tears holes in your light body and disintegrates and deteriorates the cells in your physical body, making you ill. The third thing that sugar does is it instills fear in every cell of your body. So if you're eating sugar, you're instilling an opening for fear, and you will be more fearful because you are eating sugar. So that's something that's clearly very important for you to know in the fight against fear. The only thing that truly fights fear, of course, is love. For love is the highest power in the universe. So if you stand up and say, I am not afraid, I am sending out love, love will conquer all of this, and love will show the truth. Then you are demonstrating to others, and you are standing together in unity, and that will cause love to take over fear much more quickly. Does that answer your question, dear one?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
I have kind of a similar question, or a question maybe pertaining to this. Our healthcare system is breaking down, I would say. And I guess it has to do something with this no empowerment, or people giving away their empowerment to others. Could you please tell us what we can do to change that, to have a better healthcare system?
There are doctors and nurses within your healthcare system and administrators within your healthcare system who are naively believing what they are told. They believe everything they're told about the global pandemic, which we call plandemic. They believe that is true, and they are not looking at the reality and the true situation of what is going on. That is a corrosive factor within your healthcare system. Additionally, healthcare systems across the planet are being based upon pharmaceuticals, which are managed by Big Pharma, as it is known throughout the world, which is interested more in making money than providing cures. So therefore, you are involved in a healthcare system that has stepped away from traditional ways of healing, such as herbal remedies and touch as contact, opening the heart with compassion. All manner of healings that are your natural gifts here on this planet are being channeled into a modernized system of medicine that separates you rather than looking at you as a total being, and then follows false leads and false premises on how to treat whatever is out of balance. You must begin to listen to your intuition, first of all, monitor your own intake of diet and materials that you take in from what you see, what you hear, what you eat, what you drink. Do research into the awakening of herbal remedies, homeopathics, Ayurveda, all kinds of ancient remedies that have helped humanity move out of imbalanced states, and begin to treat yourself through these ways, creating an alternative parallel health system rather than the health system you have that is becoming corrupt. You have to create something alongside of it that is parallel, and perhaps even institute a way of not charging when someone is sick, but instead giving reimbursement when they are well. The monetary system is feeding the corruptness of the healthcare system now, because when people have to pay, or the government pays, for whatever is wrong when someone is ill, it's causing an imbalance between health and money. So find a way to change that polarity also. But begin, first of all, by investigating what natural remedies, including touch, compassion, care for one another, and natural herbs that are gifts of the earth, can do to help you return to the state of balance. Healthy diets, these things. And as you create a network of alternative health, that will outweigh the one that is in place, which will have to follow suit or go out of business. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes? We're enjoying this quite much.
Oh,
Yes, I have another question.
Yes.
Could you speak a little about multi-dimensionality and
Can you speak a little louder, please?
multi-dimensionality? Can you speak about that? And I've also read that some humans are going to ascend to the fifth dimension pretty soon. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct partially. But you will not ascend to the fifth dimension. You will ascend into multidimensionality. One of the problems with the human species is that you think linearly. You think everything has to be a hierarchy. If you're in the third dimension and you believe the fourth dimension is time, then you automatically assume the next step is the fifth dimension. But it is not. That is something that many false prophets and misguided people are channeling through, that you're moving into the fifth dimension. This is actually not accurate. You're moving into an experience of multidimensionality, because multidimensionality is the next place for consciousness to go, into the place where you can be in any dimension or all dimensions at the same time. An evolutionary leap of consciousness that allows you to be free, that allows you to go where you need to be at any given time in any different dimension. As far as the timeline that you are referring to, it is according to the energies that are present. There is a wave of energies that will be arriving approximately in December of this year that will promote some of the conscious expansions in a way that consciousness was promoted and expanded with the harmonic convergence in the 80s, with the December 21st, 2012 expansion of consciousness, and now December 21st of 2020, an expansion of consciousness. There will be a huge wave of energies that comes in. Because you've grown so much from these forward movements of energy, you'll be ready to make a larger evolutionary leap if you so choose. Those who are following the path of light, who are living through the two principles of ahimsa and inlakesh, and choosing the diet that does not involve death, will most likely ascend into the multidimensional state. Those who are still ignorant, still asleep, still eating meat, killing animals, still doing harmful things to their fellow brothers and sisters out of misguided loyalty, ignorance, or fear, they will not ascend. They will go through the process of death, and they will move to another place where they will continue their lessons on the wheel of karma. There is no judgment in this. Each human being has the power of choice. You always have. You have the power of choice to choose to do things in alignment with ascending and multidimensionality, or you have the choice to stay with the old tradition path of karma and learn your lessons at the rate you have been doing for thousands of years on the karmic wheel, where you learn slowly through everything you do. But it is entirely each individual's choice. And again, there is no judgment in that. You have the choice of how long or how soon you want to go through this transformational process. This also is explained in our book, Pleiadian Manual for Evolution and Ascension. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but I have a following question.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on judgment and discernment? What the
Yes.
difference is that?
We'd be delighted to elaborate on that. Discernment is noticing that something is different, and yet discernment has absolutely no emotional component. You just objectively notice that it is different, and then you choose, what do I resonate with and what do I not resonate with? And you go towards your resonance through the discernment. Judgment has a high emotional component and is involved in blame, pointing the finger at someone else, and judgment makes you very, very uncomfortable, mentally, physically, and emotionally, at all levels. So your goal is to move towards discernment rather than judgment, so that you can make objective choices from a more balanced state. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You have very good questions. Your group has been working, we can tell, to evolve and understand at higher levels. Thank you for asking us such deep and important questions. We're so happy to share with you from our perspective.
If I may ask a couple of questions, several came up. One was first with animals, animals who are eating meat and killing. Do they fall into the same category as humans in this ascension?
Animals have devolved into carnivorous creatures because they have been following the energy of fear that was implanted on this planet. A long, long time ago, there was a peaceable kingdom. Some of your religions speak about the peaceable kingdom, where the lion and the lamb lay down together. Animals have no need for killing to eat for food. It is not necessary. They have followed the human example and the fear factor that has been implanted on this planet. Some animals are already transcending and moving into other realms on the new earth, preparing for the peaceful kingdom. Other animals are still here on this plane and living in the traditional ways that you are accustomed to. But if you have pets, each animal that you have can easily be transitioned into a vegetarian diet, and they thrive on that. They're just conditioned to eating the other way. So that is what's going on with the animals. But one major difference is humans choose through the mind and the heart. Animals do not think, they intuit. They do everything from heart, instinct, and intuition. So they do not go through the same process of karma, but they do not have that mental loop to think through. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I wanted to ask, though, we have a veterinarian here too, especially cats. I've heard that they have to have protein. And I want to ask, fish, is that killing when you eat fish as well? Is that in the same category?
Well, what do you think? Is the fish still alive when it's in the cat's stomach? Obviously not. Of course it's killing. It is taking another life. Any other life is taking a life. Whether it's swatting a fly, or whether it is killing a fish, or whether it is killing a cow or a baby deer or a reindeer, anything that is killing is taking of another life. Cats do need protein. Humans need protein, but protein does not have to come from animal sources. There is high protein in the simple product of hemp seed. It gives you all the essential amino acids and all the essential fatty acids. And that's all a human system or an animal system needs to move forward. You can give a cat cheese or eggs, or you can give it mixed in with hemp seed, all manner of things, and the cat will get what it needs to survive. They absolutely need protein. That's part of their diet, but so do you. The best way to condition an animal to a new diet is to do it slowly. Don't simply change the animal's diet. The veterinarian there will tell you that's not healthy for the animal. It has to be done slowly. So condition it slowly by mixing in some of the fish or whatever it's eating while you introduce the other material to the system. And as you slowly do that, you can very gradually take the animal off the death energy, the killing energy, in a healthy way that is beneficial for all the fish that will remain and for all the cats that will be eating a more healthy diet. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it clarifies some confusion.
Good. That's what we wish, is to clarify confusion. And we ask you to clarify any confusion we may have also, for we wish to learn from you too. So if there is a concern or something that is confusing to you, let us talk it out together so we can learn from each other.
What's your view on castration of animals?
It's not killing the animal.
Yeah.
And we would normally say not a good idea because it is not the animal's choice. However, your planet has become so imbalanced that sometimes it is necessary to have a castration procedure to male or female in order to prevent an overpopulation and starvation among that population. It is an evolutionary thing that has gone in the wrong direction because your planet is imbalanced. In a natural, balanced environment, we would say do not castrate the animals. They have a natural way of knowing when to breed and when not to. But that is out of balance currently, so we do not judge it or condemn it. We simply note with discernment that it is out of balance and that you as veterinarians are having to take certain steps in order to try to reintroduce balance into the planet again. Does that satisfy that question?
I have more.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I have a question about evil and purpose. And I have seen evil in my life, a lot of evil, and I have also experienced evil, is pure evil, as I see today. And sometimes I wonder if the purpose for me to experience the evil, and the evil was I was engaged with a narcissist for a long time, and today I see that it was a purpose. I think I read it that way. It was a purpose for me, but it was very
We cannot address your specific situation and the purpose of the evil in your life in a public gathering because that is too personal.
Yeah, I know.
However, we can address the concept of evil in general. From our perspective, evil is simply ignorance. It is ignorance of the love and light that is available. When you take away love and light, you are left in the darkness with fear. That is the way it is on this planet. And out of fear, ignorance is spawned, because the one who is perpetrating the evil has forgotten the light and has forgotten the feeling of love within their own heart. They are involved with mental states that are disconnected from the heart and belief systems that are warped and confused. So we see evil purely as ignorance. One of the things that we are fond of telling everyone is that even the dark serves the light. The light, the love of the highest forces within the universe. So the dark, the evil, cannot win. It appears to win in many circumstances, but that is only appearance, as things need to shift in order to change. However, in the appearance, you may feel suffering because of the evil or the ignorance that you witness. The way around that or through that is to send love and light into the situation so that those who are perpetrating the horrible things you may be witnessing or experiencing are enlightened. They are awakened. As light pours in, they can see that what they are doing is out of balance and out of harmony for the highest good of all. And as that light pours in, their hearts awaken and reconnect to their mind, and they can make better choices. So the best way to fight evil is simply by loving. Just send love. Many times people have asked us, what do I do when I am afraid? And we say, when you are afraid, say, I'm sending love into this situation. Fear cannot be here when love is here. So therefore, love is going to take care of this. And focus all of your energy on the love, because the dark cannot exist where there is light, and evil or ignorance cannot exist where there is love. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear one.
I have a question. I like to think or like to behave like I am for something. For instance, if we talk about love, I'm for love. I am not against love. But that perhaps was a bad suggestion. But to be for something, I myself believe is better than to fight for. I'm against this and I don't like this and yeah. So I would like to put my energy on things that creates love, not anger. Could you help me a bit to explain a bit about my thinking?
Well, first of all, that's a very good step to want to be for something rather than against it. Because when you are saying, I don't want, I'm against, you're putting up resistance. And resistance does not allow change. So we encourage people to never say, I don't want this or I don't want that. But instead to say, I do want this and I'm for that. Because that opens up possibilities to move in the right direction. You will never manifest what you want by saying, I want to manifest that I don't want this to happen. That's not a manifestation, that's a resistance. So if you want to manifest change and moving in a positive direction, saying, I am for this, I want this, is moving in a place of openness. So you open to what you are moving towards and what you want. But there's one step further that you can take. Rather than saying, I am for love, you can simply be the love that you are. When you say, I am love, there is no room for the resistance. There is automatically an acceptance and a flow and a movement through life that is easier for you because you are being the love that you are. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I have a follow-up question, because why I had this question is about, we see many things today out in the world that people are demonstrating for what they are against. That's what I hear anyhow. And how do you see, what are they really creating when they're doing that?
Well, what we see is that they're using their power for the first time to stand up and say no, when they have been spending years saying yes, 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 okay, I will, yes. So it's a good step in the right direction to take back their power and say, no, we will not tolerate this, because they are telling the universe and the powers that are controlling what they will not tolerate. But they're not saying, I don't want. They're not saying, I'm manifesting not. They're saying, no, stop, using it as a stop energy, so that then they can say, freedom, abundance, connection, we are for these things. They are getting the attention of the authorities, saying, it stops here. We are stopping the direction you are going by saying no. What they're creating is a resistance to the other side, while they are flowing forward with what they do want to intend and envision. We want freedom. We want connection. We want, and naming all the things that are important for humanity in their statements. They have to stand up and say no first and then move forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's good to hear you say that.
Yes.
May I have another question? Going back to the sugar issue, and you said it's addictive, it's very harmful for us. What are some practical guidelines to get out of the addiction? And I think alcohol is also a part of that. And what about sugar substitutes? Yes.
Sugar substitutes. Sugar substitutes that are made from chemicals, those things are really hard on your brain. So they are toxic to your brain. Do not eat the powdered things in packages that are sugar substitutes. But there are sweeteners that you can have. You can have natural honey, natural maple syrup, and plant-based, plant-grown stevia. These are all three natural sweeteners that are good for your system, not bad for your system. The way to get off of sugar, in our opinion, because it is addictive, is simply to say no more and clear out your cabinets, throw it away, and do it all in one fell swoop. Differently from going off of meat and learning to be vegetarian, which must be done gradually in a human system as well as in an animal system, that must be done gradually for the system to adapt. But sugar is a different thing. With sugar, you have to cut it loose, do not touch it, throw it out. Look at it as if, would I eat arsenic? Of course you would not eat arsenic. You would recognize it as poison. And if you found arsenic in your food, you would throw the food out. So the best way to get rid of a sugar addiction is to get rid of all the sugar, and then replenish your cabinet with maple syrup and honey and stevia, and eat those things when you are craving sweets. Eventually, you should be able to have sweets as a moderate part of your diet. When you have been eating sugar, you're probably eating far more sweets than is balanced for a human diet. So you will eventually want to move to less honey, less maple syrup, and less stevia. But initially, you may want to have that every time you are hungry for a sweet taste. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yes?
But how about birch sugar or birch?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
okay.
You can get birch sugar that is also a viable alternative.
Um,
However,
fruit-
be aware that the corn industry bought up the trademark for the term xylitol. So if you are buying your birch sugar under the label of xylitol, you better read the label and be sure it is actually from birch rather than from corn.
Okay.
Wow, thank you.
Yes.
I have a question about what can we do with our bank system, our monetary system in the future? How should we be thinking about this system? Because it's not as good as it could be for
We
us.
would say that your monetary system is in a point of change right now, and the powers that are trying to control you will try to control you through money. They've tried to control you first through fear of ill health, and they're trying to control you through installing 5G technology, which can surveil you and ultimately kill you. They're trying to do that. and the next step they will take is to alter your monetary system. You ask how to think about it for the future. We would say, if you look at our website, you'll notice that we do not refer to payment or donations. We refer to things as energetic exchange, because this is the way it should be. Your planet is off kilter, out of balance, because monetary systems are used for controlling the population. You are controlled into having to pay money for what you want or what you need, and that requires you to work at jobs that you may not like. So it is really imbalancing the whole human society. You need to move towards a system of exchange where you give your gifts and talents and someone else exchanges their gifts and talents. Right now, the only way you can do an energetic exchange is through money. But you begin this change by beginning to think of it as energetic exchange rather than, I have to pay this amount or this is what it cost. Obviously, certain things have costs, but when you look at what you're doing, ask yourself, does this feel like a fair energetic exchange, or have I gotten more for what I've received? And if so, how can I give more as an energetic exchange? If you begin to do that with each other, often, for instance, someone says, I will charge you 50 kroner to wash your windows. And they do a splendid job. And you look at it and you go, wow, that price was really reasonable. Why not give them 100 kroner and say, thank you. This is what I think is a fair exchange. That is the way to begin instituting fair exchange into your monetary system. As you do that, you gain the control of your money over those who are trying to control you. And the more you give, the more it comes back to you, because that's how energy works. You give from your heart and it returns to you in unexpected ways. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
And how about this Nasara and Gesara that they're talking about being ruled out recently?
We do not find any validity in that. We feel like that is a false piece of news to give people false hope and to take their power away even more. What that relates to, from our opinion, has to do with the digital takeover of money that will involve your money being controlled even more. But what is being told is every human will get money. They'll be given money. What is not being told is how the money will be given and what the controls are. It is false news. It is not something to look forward to.
Then I want to ask about this whole white hat Q and Trump concept. I know I've heard a couple of things. One is that they're bringing forth Nasara, they're bringing forth justice in many situations. But then the other side that I've heard is we have to watch out for looking for others to do the hero work, the saver work, that each one of us has to do it. So my question is maybe also about leadership in the United States. How do you see that happening?
Can you please explain to us what you mean by white hat? We do not understand this term.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a couple of channels. They work with a lot of stuff that has been going underground. They call white hats and dark hats as service to others versus service to self. And it's the people who are trying to bring to light the evil and correct that, take people into custody. And there's a whole thing about QAnon and Trump being part of this whole movement because he is not part of the old government system, but he's trying to make changes.
We understand.
Yeah.
Without getting into a political debate or giving political viewpoints, we would like to say this. You have fairy tales about wolves in sheep's clothing. Yes? You
Yes.
understand this concept? Much of what you are hearing about Nasara, about QAnon, about all manner of things, including certain politicians, have to do with making a presentation of energy of look how good I am, look what I'm trying to do that's different, which is really just a wolf in sheep's clothing. It is not necessarily the truth. We would say, first and foremost, always follow your intuition. If you want to examine something in the current political system, look at where the particular candidate spends their money. What do they do with their money? Who is supporting Bill Gates? Who is in favor of the vaccine that will have the chip that will shorten your life? Who is supporting Bill Gates? If you follow that and find out who is funding him millions and billions of dollars, then you will find out where the wolf is in the sheep's clothing. And that will help you make determination and good decisions about what you are hearing. Understand that much of what you are told comes from what Cullen calls false prophets. People who have a little bit of the truth and they twist it just enough to make it believable, and then they weave in all manner of lies and falsity, leading you in a direction to make you feel safe and secure when you should feel anything other than safe and secure. The only safety and security is in your own hearts, in your love, in your turning towards one another. It is never and will never be found in any politician or any governmental system or any religious system that promises you that. It cannot promise you that because you are on an evolutionary journey. And as evolutionary consciousness moves and expands, it requires going through certain experiences to understand at deeper and deeper levels. The biggest responsibility you have is learning to investigate the truth for yourself, stand up for what your heart tells you is true, and disregard the things that filter into your mind from false prophets and fake news, whether they be politicians, whether they be medical doctors, whether they be channels who are bringing in partial information. It matters not. The only thing that matters is that your heart is feeling this is right, this is true, I can trust this, because the only safety you will ever have is in following your heart. One thing that we always tell every group with whom we speak, and we have not yet said to you, but this is the perfect moment, is do not believe us, trust your own hearts. What we share is our perspective, but it is our perspective, and that is not, oh, you have to believe this. We never do that to you, for that disempowers you and takes away your own abilities to figure out what is true and what is not. We say instead, listen to what we have to offer, and then listen to your heart. If your heart resonates with what we say, if you feel good and connected to what we say, trust your heart. That's where the answers are. We hope that answers that question for you.
Yes, thank you very much. I think what I wanted to just ask, then all these shows and books about heroes have actually been training us to be lazy, right?
Yes, yes, and yes. All of these things, even your cowboy stories about good guys and bad guys, were training polarity and separation. And all the stories about heroes are training you to look for somebody else to take responsibility. And even the church, particularly the Catholic Church, is telling you, I can absolve you from your responsibilities. It cannot. You have to take responsibility for yourself and your own choices, each and every one of you. No religion, no God, no government, no teacher, no anybody can take your responsibility. You have to choose that. That is very well said. Thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. It brings to mind the notice that you have no quality movies to watch these days. Your movies for entertainment are filled with graphic violence, polarities of opposite combative, competitive energy, and disgusting, immoral, sexual references that have nothing to do with heart-based connection. There are very few entertaining movies these days that come from the higher vibratory perspective. The same is true with your music. You have a growing prevalence, which started with hard rock and progressed to punk rock, and from there went into rap. And it is disjointing, and it is not heart-based music raising your vibration. It lowers your vibration. Even the words of your rap songs that are said have to do with abbreviating the language and making up words rather than expanding connection through the beauty of speaking or having beautiful tones or connecting in that way. So if you look around at your environment, you will find that you have been controlled slowly, gradually, in almost every area, from sugar in your diet to drugs that you have been told will cure you, and they do not heal you, to things in your sound that you listen to movies that you watch, to what you read, even to the channels and the false prophets who are supposed to be bringing you the truth. The truth comes when you listen to your heart.
Do you have any good films to suggest?
Good things to suggest.
Films,
Films. Do you have any good films to suggest?
movies.
Movies. The Green Beautiful. We love watching that movie with Pia and Cullen. It is about no competition, ahimsa, and in Lakesh. The Green Beautiful is a wonderful movie. It's an old French movie with subtitles, but it is the favorite movie we have ever watched with Pia and Cullen. We also like the movie Arrival, which talks about interspecies communication. We like that movie very much as well. There are good movies. You can find them, but most of them are somewhat older and not ones that are coming out this year or last year, because as the powers that try to control you control more and more, they move into your brain, into your mind, by teaching you to accept that graphic sex and graphic violence are normal. They are not. So you find these things in your movies and you automatically adjust to, well, that's normal, when it isn't. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the suggestions.
Yes? We can't give you a movie list because we just watch with Pia and Cullen when they occasionally
Okay. So Merit has a question here. I'm going to translate.
Vilka tecken ser man på att jag är på väg i ett uppvaknande och min frigörelse? Vilka positiva tecken? Hur beskriver hur det måste styra? Men vad finns det för tecken på att jag är på väg ur ett massuppvaknande eller vad?
So what are indications that are positive, that are showing us that we're going in the right direction for awakening? I mean, we've seen the negative indications, we describe. What are the positive ones?
The fact that you are all here, trusting that you can communicate with someone who lives in multidimensionality rather than relying on a human to give you a perspective of the truth. That's a very good step in the right direction. Listening to your heart and finding that you're beginning more and more to intuit what feels right and what feels like a lie. That's a good step in the right direction. Noticing and seeing people stand up and say, look what's wrong with our medical system, our health system. Look what's wrong with what they're telling us. Look what's wrong with what's being done with 5G. Maybe we should stand up and say, no, we're not going to put up with this. What do we need to do with our monetary system? All of these types of questions that are coming from higher consciousness are good indications that you're moving in the right direction. The expansion of vegetarianism is movement in the right direction because it is honoring all life. And until this species learns to honor all life, you will never have a peaceful species or a peaceful planet. It is absolutely essential that you learn to honor all life in order to have peace in your own lives. So these are all very, very good signs that are moving in the right direction. Notice how people look into each other's eyes and smile. Every time you see that, you're seeing connection, and a signal that it is something in the right direction. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
May I ask something else when it comes to music? How about classical music? Is that good for you?
Classical music is wonderful for you. We do not particularly like jazz because jazz is discordant to the brain, but classical music is quite lovely and it does help you raise your vibration. One of your classical pianists was Pleiadian a long time ago.
Also, they say, like, for instance, that Beethoven helps people to become more compassionate.
Yes, absolutely. Many pieces have been composed to help humans raise their vibration. You can listen and determine how you feel. If you feel you're getting somber and depressed, you're not listening to the right vibrational music. If your heart starts to feel happy, accepting, joyful, peaceful, you're listening to the right vibration. Your heart will always know.
Can you please tell us which pianist was Pleiadian, or is, or was?
No, we want you to listen and figure it out.
Not George Winston, huh?
We'll let you find that out.
Okay.
We'll tell you this. No Pleiadians have walked the earth in a very long time. We stopped manifesting in form here on the planet because your species began to always think that we were the next savior. We were the ones with the answers. And it has never been our goal to be your saviors or to give you the answers. You have to take responsibility for your own evolution. So therefore, we started communicating through select people who could transmit our messages clearly and correctly, rather than walking among you and talking among you. We have not done that for a long time. That should help you figure it out.
Okay.
May I ask, that pianist, was he British?
I'm not sure. You have to listen.
I think I know who he is.
We're having fun with you.
Yes, right. Playing 20 questions.
We feel the conversation is coming to a close. Are there any other questions that your
Yeah,
heart needs?
We have a couple more. Yeah.
I have one question about there's many people who's talking about that everything on planet now is going to be worse before it's going to be good. So what do you say about that?
Usually there is a darkness before the light. Usually a storm comes before things are cleared away. We would say you are in the period of the darkness right now. You don't really need to ask, is it going to get dark before the light? Because it already is very, very dark right now. And you are the light in the darkness. Let that be your guiding force, knowing that as you turn more and more to light yourselves, you spread light and change the dark into the light. Good question.
So then I have a question about this Freedom Center, which is kind of a place for where people are gathering, almost like the movie, If You Build It, They Will Come. Do you have any guidance for us here for this Freedom Center in Nordics or Sweden, for us in particular?
Open your hearts and do what you feel called to do, sharing what you feel is the highest vibrational wisdom, and doing gatherings such as this, bringing forth other perspectives to help people awaken. Those who feel drawn to the energy will find you. Just continue opening up and sharing. The more that you share and the more you let others know what is available through your center to share, the more will be gravitating towards you because they will want to come where there is light. Your land is quite good for supporting this kind of energy. It isn't a good place. The only difference is that it is a long way for some people to travel to reach you. So you may have to do some outreach by going and doing small gatherings in larger places and saying, well, you can always explore this in more depth by coming to the Freedom Center. You can do some things like that as well to let others know that you exist and that it's worth the travel to find you.
Thank you. Because I was also wondering about not needing to use the internet so much for advertising.
Internet will not always be available. You're
Okay.
going to be going through a time when you are going to learn how to communicate once again in the way you're supposed to, through the water of your being. That's coming. So reliance upon internet is a temporary thing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Well, there's one simple little thing that I hope is appropriate. I have some singing bowls that I usually, a whole set, that I feel like I'm trying to make them new for a higher vibration. I was also given this message a few days ago that everything should be made new. Any guidance for kind of bringing them into a higher vibration?
Yes. Make sure that the stick or instrument that you use to make the bowl sing is not covered in any kind of death energy.
Ah,
If you're using something covered in death energy, you will not have the highest vibrational sound.
thank you. So no leather.
No, that's from death.
Right. Thank you. What about the drums, the Native American drums that are made out of hide?
We would suggest you find other ways of using musical instruments that do not involve death energy.
Thank you.
Death energy is not of the highest vibration. Those things have served their purpose in the old paradigm. You're trying to step into the new paradigm.
Thank you. That's a revelation.
We have enjoyed this gathering very, very much. We appreciate each and every one of you and the energy that you share and your very conscious questions and the conversation and communication we have had. We hope you enjoy our books, and we are available to you for personal sessions through if you choose. Suna and Vinata can tell you about that, or you can find information about that in the books. But we are here to serve human evolution, and it is our honor and our joy to be able to do that because we love you. Good always.
Thank you. Love to you. Thank you very much for being present through all that.
I don't think I have my voice back yet
Okay.
during these things, but the energy feels wonderful. And I have a question. I would like each one of you there to think about and feel into the idea of sharing this gathering with others if we put it up on the website. This is your personal gathering, and it is for you. So I would like for you to think about that and get back to Suna and Vinata. And it's totally fine either way. If you feel like it will help other people and you would like to share it, that's fine. And if you want to keep it personally and private for yourselves, that's perfectly fine too. Just let Vinata and Suna know, and we'll go from there. You don't have to decide now. Think about it. Feel into it.
Thank you. Yes. So were you aware of everything as you were channeling?
Every word. I
Yes.
love the laughter.
Yes.
Good.
This is a very interesting question. When we present Laarkmaa in a public arena like we are now, even though this is a private situation, as Pia just explained, but when we're speaking in public, we hear and feel and remember everything that goes on. We don't give ourselves up to Laarkmaa. We are a teamwork situation. So we're aware of all of it. But when we do private sessions with people, there are many, many things that Laarkmaa does with private individuals. Laarkmaa does not allow us to know what goes on.
They laugh and tell us they've installed an on-off switch. So public gathering, we're on, and when it's private, we're switched off.
So that makes the public presentations completely open to all energies from love and light and all things that are interested in what's going on. But conversely, in the private sessions, it's an absolute private and sacred connection that Laarkmaa develops with each person. So there's a very big difference between public and private things that we do. And we're really happy about that because we want people to feel comfortable in both public situations and especially in private situations. So we're really, really happy that Laarkmaa has designed it this way, because it's better for us and it's better for the people that Laarkmaa connects with personally. So we like this combination of how we do what we do with Laarkmaa. It's a very, very good combination.
Yeah, thank you. That's nice to know.
Yeah, I have a short question.
Yeah.
I have a short question, Pia and Colin. You have this new service about evolutionary guidance, right?
I'm sorry, say that again, Vinata.
You have the new service about evolutionary guidance.
Yes.
Can you just say a couple of words? How can this new service help us, or something?
Laarkmaa's been doing personal synchronizations with people for years, which is a conversation back and forth where you can ask all kinds of questions. The evolutionary guidance session is a little bit different because they look at your energy and everything about your energetic system, and they ask you questions about your lifestyle, your choices, and they evaluate you and tell you without judgment. They're very loving. Well, what you're doing right now is not the choice to do this, it's the choice to do that. And they evaluate how what you're doing in your life is serving you or not serving you. And they do it. You can do it in a half hour or an hour. It doesn't make any difference. They have both sessions available for those who want a quick, short evolutionary guidance or a more in-depth look. Sometimes the evolutionary guidance will reveal that there are traumas that are stuck inside the person that haven't been moved. And they have a trauma clearing program also, which is 3 half-hour sessions with homework in between where they help you clear out your traumas. But there is a prerequisite before you do a trauma clearing of either a synchronization or an evaluation, one or the other.
The interesting thing about the evaluations is I think every human wants to know, am I doing a good job? Am I doing the right thing? Am I progressing? Am I making the right choices? And it is an invaluable gauge for Laarkmaa to actually scan each person that wants to do this work and say, yes, you are absolutely on target. You are spot on. You are doing wonderful with this and this and this. However, there are some blind spots that you're not noticing, or that you're not seeing the symbolism that's coming to you, or you're not seeing the clues that are coming to you. And if you look a little bit more closely, you will see that all of these things are showing you how you're evolving. So what they do is they only help you know and see what you're already doing, and they give you a backup. They give you a stronger sense of who you really are and what you're accomplishing. So it's a really good program to help people understand exactly where they are on their own individual path.
You can find more information about the various things that we offer with Laarkmaa at our website. It's www.laarkmaa, LAARKMAA.com. And the spelling's on the front of all the books. If you look at the books that are around the Freedom Center, you can see what the website is also.
Good. You know, the one question that I didn't ask Laarkmaa was, what do we do with the leather things, the stuff that we have, like the native drums?
I don't know. I had a Native American drum, and I can tell you what I did with it was give it to a Native elder because they're still very much in that tradition.
Yeah.
That's what I did with mine.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
That was a dilemma for me. I became interested in shamanic medicine through my work in anthropology and archaeology as a very young man in my 20s, which for me was a very long time ago. And what I did was I researched non-leather drum heads. And I found a company in America that makes drums that are synthetic. And I used that drum, I still own it. I used that drum for 40 years, and it sounds exactly like a Native American skin-headed drum. But the interesting thing about these artificial drums is they're not bothered by weather changes. They don't need to be tightened. They don't lose their deep sound if it's cold or too hot. They're actually a more sensitive skin because you can use them in any weather, damp, hot, cold, and the sound is true no matter where you are in the world. So
I think that's the right answer.
So I discovered this, 45 years ago, and I have used this drum along with rattles in my process. So they are available. All you have to do is research it and find these alternative companies.
And if you're trying to find a good source for where to take the things that you have, like I said, someone gave me a drum and I knew it wasn't right for me. I didn't want the old energy. And I just looked around and found somebody who knew a Native American elder and said, this is for you. And that's a good way to pass it on. And then when they feel the vibration change, they will get rid of it because they're ready to get rid of it. But you are doing it without any kind of judgment. You're just saying it's no longer right for me.
Okay, because I mean, there's also leather shoes, leather, coats, leather,
Well, I have transitioned to bamboo shoes and,
Yeah.
all manner of alternative
Cork.
things.
Pia,
Cork. I have a pair of cork boots. It's just fantastic.
yeah, there's a movement in Greece about making everything out of cork these days. Purses, hats, shoes.
Mhm.
You can buy things online that are from Greece that
Or
are
Portugal.
or Portugal that are made out of just cork.
Okay. Cork and I think hemp also. Hemp is
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. Actually, Levi Strauss and Company, the most famous blue jean company in the world, has announced that they are going to alter their 100% cotton material, their denim, either this year or next year. They're going to include 30% hemp cloth in Levi's.
great. That'll make them stronger.
Make them stronger. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh.
I mean, the alternative to leather when it comes to shoes is usually nylon or plastic, but that isn't very good either.
No.
Right.
No.
No. Yeah, because you want something that can breathe.
Mm.
Wow.
Can I have a question? I just wondered how do you cope with all this work you do? Because it must take some of your energy, or do you get tired, or how is it?
It energizes us,
No.
Britt. It absolutely energizes us.
This is a really good and big question you're asking. Pia and I have been doing this work for a very long time, but before we were introduced to Laarkmaa, we were interested in channeling, and we went to many channels around the world. And many channelers said that channeling makes them tired, sometimes ill, and takes their energy. And we can say absolutely the opposite. We are energized, we are uplifted every time we connect with Laarkmaa. We feel healthier, happier, and better.
I think it's because we're connecting with high vibrational energy. And high vibrational energy can't hurt you or harm you. It just raises you up. So it's a testimony to how pure Laarkmaa is, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Sure.
This has been a really wonderful connection. Laarkmaa always tailors whatever they say to the energy of the group. And they kept saying that you're asking really, really good high consciousness questions. And I would totally agree. This was a very good interchange. This was a very good connection today with all of you. This was a very special and pleasant experience for us.